Ellen Simmons for the Rural Radio Network. Well, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and the Nebraska Cancer Coalition is working to educate Nebraskans on the importance of breast cancer screening. We're joined today by Linda, a breast cancer survivor from Nebraska who was diagnosed in 2023. Now, in 2025, the American Cancer Society estimates 1,790 new cases of breast cancer in Nebraska and 160 deaths from breast cancer in Nebraska. Linda, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, could you tell us a little more about your story and why it's so important for women to be aware of the signs and symptoms of breast cancer?
Well, I'll start out with in 2022, I had a stroke. And at that time, I was working full time, training someone to take over my job. And then after I kind of settled things there, my heart wasn't doing very well. And in that time, I felt a lump. And so I have to be honest, I ignored it. I had a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
So finally in 2023, I decided to have it checked. And yes, it was cancer.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So then I went to Lincoln and had it removed. And I chose at that time not to take chemo because I still was working full time. I was training someone for my job, still working on the heart issue. So that was my choice. I decided to take radiation instead. So I went back and forth to Grand Island, Nebraska to do that. I went in the morning, went back to work in the afternoon, and that was a 5-day treatment. So yes, I was exhausted by the end of the day, by the end of the week for sure. I was exhausted, but that was my choice and I don't regret that still. So I'm okay.
Okay. Yeah.
There is only one thing that I would probably say that I do regret was not going in when I felt it.
Sure.
I waited about, I'm going to say 6 to 8 months, maybe.
Okay.
And that's my story. I decided not to go in.
Okay. Well, one of the risk factors for breast cancer is having a family history. Did that play a role in your story, or how did it influence your decision to be screened?
Yes, I am a third generation of breast cancer. I don't know much about my grandmother, but my mother, she did nothing for herself and ended up having a breast removed and it went into her lymph nodes. But she was already 80 years old. So when she passed away, it wasn't because of cancer, but I don't know how long she actually lived with that. I've never talked to her to that extent. But I know it was hard on her at the time when she had it removed because of her age.
Sure. All right. Well, you've told us a lot about your story. So, from the initial discovery of the lump to navigating treatment and now encouraging your daughter to get screened, looking back on everything you've been through, what's one piece of advice that you would like to share with with other women about breast cancer awareness and taking charge of their health?
Yes, definitely get screened. And if you notice something, don't wait. I think that it's easier to take care of it when it's small. Mine was grown and it got into the lymph nodes barely. I was lucky that it didn't progress faster than it did. It must have been a slow one. And I don't know, that's probably the history of my mother and grandmother. They were slow because I don't know how long she lived with it either. But in that 8-month time, it was growing, and I knew that. So my suggestion and my absolute advice is to go get checked as soon as you know anything, and of course annually. And I do have a daughter that will be 41, and I'm encourage her to do the same thing.
Sure. All right. Well, thank you so much for telling us your story.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, if you'd like to find more information about breast cancer, you can find that at necancer.org/breast cancer. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and the Nebraska Cancer Coalition is working to educate Nebraskans on the importance of breast cancer screening. I'm Ellen Simmons for the Rural Radio Network.